Hello, my dear defense aspirants. I am Group Captain D.K. Tanwar. Today I am recording this video on behalf of Doon Defense Academy. This video is being prepared for your digital platform, which is accessible to you as per the administrative instructions issued by the Academy. If you have decided to make defense as a career, I'm sure you must have had some idea what happens in the SSB as far as the process is concerned. I am approaching you through this video primarily because you are not able to attend classes physically at the coaching centers or academies. So because of this limitation of COVID-19, we have decided to extend our services to all those candidates who wish to find out what happens at SSB and how to make preparations for the tests which are administered at SSB. In next 45 to 50 minutes, I'll be covering the salient points which you have to keep in mind while making preparation for SSB for various tests which you face. Before I go into the testing procedure per se, I would bring to your notice some of the changes which have been implemented by the boards in the light of COVID-19. The prominent aspect you must keep in mind that along with the clothing and the documents which you're supposed to carry, one major change which has come up is you are expected to carry your own bedding. It's supposed to consist of 2 bed sheets, 2 pillow covers, and 1 light blanket as per the weather conditions of that selection board. You're supposed to carry all your documents as given in instructions and the photocopies for affixing on the forms subsequent to your getting recommended. The documents which you're supposed to carry are 10th, 12th mark sheets and certificates as given in the notification. It is your responsibility to ensure that you meet the minimum eligible criteria. If you are not meeting any of the criteria, you will be routed back without any testing at the board. So please pay attention. Take all of the desired documents with you. In case you are an appearing candidate and you do not have your certificate till now, then an undertaking or a certificate is to be obtained from your institute, duly signed by the principal of the school or institute, which you will be submitting there at SSB at the time of reporting. As usual, the process which was there earlier, there is no change in that as far as the testing is concerned. You will have the stage 1 and stage 2 testing. On the arrival, you will be filling up certain forms, and then you will be sitting in the examination for stage 1. As you are aware, stage 1 consists of 2 tests. One is the written test, OIR, and that officer's intelligence rating test is in 2 parts. One is verbal, one is non-verbal. In verbal, you will have statements given in language. In non-verbal, you will have only the pictorial diagrams based on which you will be selecting your options out of the given choices. In addition to this, another test which is called picture perception and discussion test. In that, you will be shown a picture which will have certain characters based on which you will be writing a story, and that story you will be carrying with you into the discussion hall, where in a group of 15 to 20 you will be discussing various aspects of the story as per the briefing given to you at the selection board. Once you have finished this discussion, then a mini conference is held by the assessors who were sitting through this process of discussion with you, and the result will be announced for all the candidates, whether they are screened in or out. Those candidates who do not get screened in will be returning back to the respective places after collecting the due travel allowances. Those who have been screened in will be subjected to further testing of stage 2. The stage 2 testing will consist of a written test. This will have various elements, and a group testing, which again will have number of test batteries, and the interview, one-to-one individual interview. Now remember, these 3 tests which have been given to you have been administered by individual assessors. One test has got no effect on the other. Your performance being observed individually by the different assessors. So God forbid, if you are not able to perform to the optimum in one test, don't worry about it. You still have a fresh start in other 2 tests. So keep your cool, concentrate on the instructions which are given to you, and appear with a peaceful mind. You'll be able to succeed. This test which you appear in the written or in group testing or in interview, remember, each of these tests is a psychological test. You are being evaluated psychologically. Just because one test is called as a psychological test does not mean the other 2 are not. So the one written test which you have undertaken, which will have the different test batteries like TAT, that's known as thematic apperception test, then WAT, word association test, then SRT, situation reaction test, and then self-description. All these written tests will last approximately 3 hours, including the instructions. Similarly, the group testing has got number of tests like your group planning exercise, group discussions, progressive group task, half group task, lecturate, and individual obstacles. Any of these tests which you undertake with group testing officer will be observed in terms of your behavior in the group. While the first written test which you had undergone is your individual your performance. But in group testing, it is the group performance. So you must keep the basic difference in your mind. That in one, it is your individual performance which is being evaluated, while the other, it is your performance in the group that is being evaluated. So your effort must be accordingly planned. Similarly, the another test in which you will be having one-to-one talk, one person will be taking your interview, is again your individual performance. Here, what you say, what you do remains within those four walls. Your performance is not shared by the interviewing officer with any other officer, either the GTO or the TO or psychologist. The discussion about your performance will only take place after the evaluation has been done individually by these assessors during the conference. When we were talking about this stage 1, let us see what kind of points you keep in mind while sitting for stage 1 test. In stage 1, when you are sitting for officer intelligence rating test, remember it is just a normal reasoning test which you may have come across in various kind of magazines and books. It's more or less similar as far as the level of difficulty is concerned. It's not very difficult, neither is very easy. It's somewhere in the middle. If you are using your logic, you'll be able to approach this test very comfortably. Standard questions you will find in this is like a series. It could be alphanumeric or could be just numeric. Some your directional orientation. Some tests on your ability to calculate, ability to judge, the basic mathematics, your proportions, your calculation of distance and time, and work, manpower and number of days, etc. Whatever the kind of questions which you have done in your school days in 8th, 9th, 10th classes. It's a very simple test. However, because of the time pressure, it may cause some anxiety. So again, the thumb rule to be followed is, if you are not able to find an answer for this question in the first glance, skip it, go to the next one. But while doing it, make sure that you have left that blank space in your answer sheet in the corresponding question. It should not happen that you miss out any of those questions and then misplace all your choices in the wrong places. So when you are filling up those circles, keep in mind that that is in front of the correct question number. Similarly, you will have the number of patterns in the diagrammatic test. Again, it is either the placement or difference in figures for the orientation, directional orientation, exactly similar what you see in most of the magazines. So what comes next in the blank space, you choose out of the given choices. So if you are careful enough and make sure that you start from any one point, either from the north to south, east to west, left, right, clockwise, anti-clockwise, you'll be able to tackle all the diagrammic questions. So prepare and practice as much as you can from any magazine, any book, the type of questions which I just mentioned. This will help you in shortening your time and finding the correct choice. You need not necessarily follow the complete mathematical process to find the option. You got to be smart. At times you have to do reverse engineering. See that whether your answer is in the vicinity of the options given or not. That will itself will give you an advantage of picking up a choice. So once you have tackled this OIR and you have got a reasonable good score, it gives you a comfortable position of clearing stage 1. Higher the score you get in OIR, better chances you gain for clearing stage 1, getting screened in. So try and do your best, practice as much as you can in your own time with a given time frame. So you practice with a test module in mind. This will assist you in shortening your time in stage 1 testing of OIR. Once you have finished this, now the next test which is administered to you is the picture perception test. This test basically checks your originality or the creativity. So the picture which is shown to you, the duration of display is about 30 seconds. In this 30 seconds, you observe how many characters are there, what is the kind of background, and what is happening in that picture, what kind of activity is going on. Based on this picture and the characters which you observed, you prepare a story. The story should be as far as possible a realistic story. Be imaginative, but do not write imaginary stories. So be careful in putting your thoughts down on the paper. Be realistic. Yes, have optimism, have your goal, which your character is expected to achieve, but do not make it out of the blue kind of achievements. So your goal setting should be commensurate to your age, to your goal. So try and put a story onto the paper which reflects you and your personality, your goals, your experiences. The nearer to the story is to you, better you'll be able to explain during the discussion. You need not write the complete story. You may write just the important salient points in bullet form. Choice is yours. The story has to contain 3 elements. What is going on in the picture as of now? What has led to it? And what is likely outcome? These 3 elements must form part of your story. If you have missed out the last part, you were not able to complete your story, does not matter. You have the idea in mind, complete it in your mind, and while narrating it, cover it up. You have to narrate the story during the test individually. So your story should be completed while narrating. After all the candidates have finished the narration, a discussion takes place automatically without any kind of intervention by the testing officer. So once the discussion starts, the stage is open for everyone. There is no sequencing, unlike the narration, where you have to narrate from first to last. Now you can speak at any time, any number of times, without any kind of causing a ruckus in the discussion. Purpose is to make one story for the group. So group has to come on a consensus about the number of characters, what is going on, and what is the story. So try and achieve a consensus as quickly as possible. There's no point in getting rigid on your point of view only. Carry on with give and take, do some modifications required. Even if an entirely new story has to be developed, you don't have to worry about it. Please go ahead. So your story may be different, other stories may be some other kind of stories, but you may now create an entirely new story. The only point you have to keep in mind that people must agree with it. Even if the final story which has been accepted is not to your liking, in the end, do not stand like a sore thumb. So either convince others or get convinced. Because this group activity, your performance is being seen as a member in the group. So contribute in a positive manner so that you get the desired result what is expected from you. Once the story has been arrived at, group must nominate one person who will narrate that story to the assessors, to the testing officers. Once that story has been narrated, now there is no question of not agreeing with it. From then on, it will be moved out from that room and taken to the common place where you will be getting your result. So once you moved out, your performance will be combined with your OIR performance, and then a result will be decided by these three assessors whether you get recommended for stage 2 or not. So if you performed to your best without any inhibitions, without any malified intentions, without putting others down, you will be screened in. So now we have covered up the stage 1 testing and you have been screened in. So now let's talk about stage 2. In stage 2, first test normally is the written test, which will have the first test as thematic apperception test. In this test, in a sequence one after the another, you will see 12 slides. Each slide will have some clue for you to write a story. First 11 slides will have a picture which you can observe and identify a character and write a story. While the last one, the 12th slide, is a blank slide in which you have a choice of writing a story without the clue. So when you are observing this picture, you will find some kind of similarity in this picture with your past experiences. Generally, these pictures will be either of a scenery which is having a setting of jungle, or a park, or a bus stand, or an hospital. Primarily what I'm trying to say is that the settings of all these pictures are generally from the routine life. So when you see these pictures, you should be able to put yourself in that picture and then write the story about you. What is it you're doing in this picture? So rather than being an observer, you get into the picture and become an actor yourself. By this, you will be able to associate your views, your ideas, your thoughts, your feelings with the character who is there in the picture. And that is what they are testing you for. So more realistic the story you are able to write, better chances you have of a higher score, which will take you higher in the merit and ultimately into the academy. Each story, the time for it is approximately 4 minutes. So anytime the picture is changed, you have to make sure that you stop writing about this and go into the next picture. Observe it carefully and write about it. Do not get overwhelmed by one story just because it's familiar to you and continue to write on it. Because the space is limited and time is fixed. So be judicious in utilization of the space and time. After that, next test is word association test, in which it will be shown a word and you have to write your first thought which came to your mind after observing that word. Do not try to be idealistic. Remain a normal human being, a good boy. Whatever thoughts are coming to you after observing that word, put it down. If you are able to make a sentence by using that word, very good. But in case you are not able to frame a sentence, even the phrase will do, a clause will do. Or if even that is not possible, even a word will do, which expresses the thought which came to mind after observing it. So try and make a sentence, that is best, but do not make sentences which are should be, must, or the factual statements, like universal facts. The sun rises in east has got no meaning. It does not display your feeling which came to mind after seeing that word sun on the slide. So remember, your feeling must be expressed in the sentence what you're putting on the paper. If you find that word is not familiar to you, you do not understand what is it, you may leave it blank. Or worse come to worse, just write that I don't know what it is. So it is better to write something rather than leaving it blank. But that must be relevant to the thought which you have in your mind. The next after this is situation reaction test. Here, you'll be given a situation, a synthetic or the imaginary situation, which you may come across, or you may have come across in the life in the past. So if that happens, and you were to act in that situation, how will you react to it? That is what you have to write. So you have to read what is the situation or the problem given, and then accordingly react. That reaction should be limited to one sentence or maximum two. Because again, space given in your answer sheet is limited. So be careful in giving your first response. You may support it by following another second response. But primarily, the first and most important response must be listed first. Then the last test is your self-description. Here you have to write what is it you think of yourself, what is the opinion of your parents, your friends, your teachers, your neighbors. So those opinions which you think they have about you, you have to mention. And in here, in the last paragraph, you must also mention what is that you have in mind, what is that you want to become, what are your self-evaluations, what is it you think you are strong in, and where are your weaknesses. So this brings me to the end of the written test. Similarly, now another test of group testing, you'll have a number of tests. These tests are spread generally over 2 days. Half of the test will be done on day 1 in the group testing, and a balance on the next day. Depending upon your chest number, you may be doing it on the 2nd and 3rd day, or maybe 3rd and 4th day, or maybe the 4th and 5th day, depending upon overall total number of candidates being tested. There again, all these tests which you are undertaking, you must keep in mind that this is a group activity. So your behavior, which is being observed by this person who is testing you, should be within the realm of acceptability as a good human being, as a gentleman. So your thoughts, your motives must be for the larger goal. You should not be working only for you. At no stage you should display a selfish nature. If you are able to show yourself as a good human being who works for others, who has others' benefit in mind, who does not always think of me first, who keeps others' interest ahead of his own, you'll be able to score good in this test. Be it the group planning, be it the group discussion, or the outdoor activities. Everywhere, remember, it is a group activity. The only individual activity which you have in this battery is your individual obstacles, where you have to choose the obstacles, which one you can do and which you will do. The 3 minutes time is to finish all the 10 obstacles. However, if you are not able to finish all 10, doesn't matter. So don't worry about it. Do as many as you can. And the last one, the group obstacle race, again, being a competitive activity, remember your group must be functioning as a team, and you should be able to come up as number 1. Even if you are not able to remain as a cohesive team, do not start arguing or blaming others for lagging behind. with the other from the other group. So the soul of this test is that you show yourself as a good human being, good-hearted person who works for others as a gentleman. And then lastly, in the interview, I'll be taking a separate video for that. I'll show you what all precaution you have to worry about, what you should do and should not do. Remember, these kind of videos which we are giving you from here, this is to fill in this gap of physical absence. Because of COVID-19, we cannot have regular classes, but still we would like to assist you as much as we can. So we are recording these videos and putting on the platform so that you can gainfully use this knowledge and show your personality as a good human being. Take as much precaution, as much caution of taking notes, because there's no person to immediately answer your queries. Note down the queries which you can subsequently clarify on the phone or in the physical discussion, physical meeting, whenever the occasion arises. Thank you. Hello candidates, I am here again with you. Today I'll be talking about the interview, one-to-one interview at the selection board. In the process of testing, once you have appeared in the written test, you may be called for the interview, or you may be going for group testing followed by the interview. Depending upon the schedule which is displayed in your candidate's mess, you need to be ready for interview. Now remember in my previous video when I mentioned each of these tests is a psychological test. So when you're going for interview, keep in mind that any question which is being asked to you has got a psychological repercussions. The purpose of each and every question is to find out who you are actually, not what you are trying to show. So this is not a normal job interview. This is a personality interview. So here, if you wish to prepare for this, you have to prepare your insight into personality of what you are. This being a personality test, one odd individual question, whether you are able to answer or not, may not be affecting overall performance. But if your inferences from that question are so deviant from a normal person, then it could affect your performance. So while preparing for interview at SSB, the first and foremost thing which you need to do is that you go over your past. See what you had been doing, what kind of actions you did, what you did or did not do, what kind of thoughts and ideas you had, what were your motives, how are you setting your goals, what kind of logic did you use when you decided to do something, whose interest did you keep in mind, what kind of activities you got involved in with your siblings, with your parents, with your neighbors, with your school classmates. What kind of friends did you make, either in school or in your colony? What is the kind of impression others heard about you? Were you seen as a good boy or a good person who was having a balance in his activities, who was able to utilize his time gainfully? The one who was not being compelled or forced into a schedule. You have to be seen as the one who makes your own schedule and follows it willingly. The one who enjoys his activities, whether it's picking up a book or writing an essay or chatting with somebody or doing something creative, which we say the activities which come into the bracket of hobby or areas of interest. So if your activities show a disciplined life, you come close to being recommended. Discipline, when I say, does not only mean that you wake up in time and go to bed in time, or you do parade very smartly, or you do the PT activities very well. Discipline is overall, where you take your own responsibility of your own actions, where you are willing to face the repercussions. You are not telling lies or getting away from your outcomes and blaming others. If you have done something, the outcome is caused by you. So you have to be responsible for it. You have to take it that this is what I did and this is what I got. Suppose you are not able to perform well in one of the papers in either 11th or 12th and you got poor marks. You can't blame others for it. You can't say I didn't have a book. You can't say my teachers were not teaching well. You can't say my school did not provide me what they're supposed to. The environment was not good. It is you're doing. You had to find time, the ways and means to prepare. So whatever result did you get, it is your doing. You are responsible. As you are, when you claim that I got 90% or 95%, it's my doing. Similarly, the 60% also your doing. You cannot blame others for it. That is what is being evaluated at this test of interview. That what you are from inside, not what you are externally. Yes, external preparation also leaves a mark. If you are shabbily dressed, definitely you give an impression that you are not interested in presenting or projecting your personality. So outward presentation has got equal importance as internal. Both matter, but you cannot disregard one at the cost of other. So pay attention internally to your ideas and thoughts and views, and externally to your physical makeup, your dressing, your body. It must be toned, must be groomed. Be it haircut or the beard or the nails or the shoes and shirt, whatever it is, this must have some kind of decent presentation. Remember, you are being recommended for an academy where you will be addressed as a gentleman cadet. So you are cadet definitely by virtue of being a trainee in that academy. But before that, you need to be a gentleman. So if you are a gentleman and you are able to display yourself as a gentleman, then no one can stop you from getting recommended. Remember, however valuable something may be, unless it is brought out in open and others are able to evaluate it, it is meaningless for others. So if a diamond kept in a closed box and you tell others that there is a diamond in it, they will not able to place a value on it because they are not able to evaluate it. So if you wish to be evaluated like a gentleman, show your qualities as a gentleman. Remove those coverings. Let others have a peep through a window where he knows, yes, there is a gentleman inside. So keep your motives honest, ideas clean. Do not be selfish. Now, in addition to this, remember a very important aspect of a good human being, of a social being, is that he knows what is happening around him. He must be connected to his immediate surrounding. When I say connected means that you should be aware of what is going on around you, where you live, in the town, in the country, and in the world, in your society. So whatever current events are going on, go through them, get interested in them, read about it. There may be a news coming up in the newspaper or on the TV. There has to be some kind of interest in some kind of news, if not all. It may be in the sports field, it may be academic field, it may be politics, it may be legal aspects, anything. There has to be some area in which you are generally interested than others. Everyone has his own choice. So if you are interested in some of those areas, go over this current events going on in those areas, either through the magazines, newspapers, or TV or radio. Any medium you can use. Whatever news you are getting on any of the issues, be it the social issues or the legal issues or the political issues, read about it and try and go into the background of it. What was going on in this aspect before we got this outcome? So you have to have some kind of input relating to the past of this event which you are reading or observing now. So when you are reading it from the background, you'll be in a better position to narrate and talk about it. What is it? Why is it happening? How it is happening? And as a gentleman, as a logical person, you should be able to talk about it in your own perspective. What is likely to happen? Why is it happening? Read all books, all magazines, all newspapers, doesn't matter. But you must top it up by your personal views, that this is what I feel about it. This is where I stand, that's my stand. That shows your individuality as a firm and a logical person. Thank you.